Guys, this is a video made for Rent Corporation and for their alliances. This is a completely unedited and unscripted recording, so bear with me. There probably will be a lot of mistakes that I've written here, or I may have missed something. The topic is to safely travel from one gate to another in 0.0 without dying, or at least traveling in a safer way. Okay, now say this is you and you just jumped in to the system and you happen to see reds in local. What would you do? Would you travel from one gate to another without doing anything else? Well, let's try that. Say if you did travel from one gate to another, you realized that there happened to be a bubble, which actually did not make you stop at the Stargate, but at the bubble. And with that, 10,000 other reds pop in and kill you. Well, there's only 5 in local, so probably 5 reds will come and kill you. So how can you avoid something as simple as this? Well, before I explain how to avoid bubbles, you need to know how actually bubbles work. So the way a bubble slingshots you, or the way they work, is they must be set up in a way so it's aligned with wherever you're coming from. And in this particular case, as you can see, this bubble was aligned to the other Stargate. And since you were coming from that Stargate and you initiated the warp, it's a perfect alignment for you to skip that Stargate and crash into the bubble. Now, a few things about the bubble. They can be placed up to 100 kilometers away from the gate, so you can be swinged up to 100, or they can also be placed closer towards the gate, so it can be anywhere from between 100, or even 30, or even on the gate if they wanted to do that. And they can do it either in front of the gate, like this, or behind the gate. So it can be up here, so you can actually warp in and get stuck from front, like this. And they'd have enemies sitting around here. So both ways work. So now how do we avoid it? Well, as you know, it has to be a line. You have to create a line that goes from one spot to the other. And all we got to do is avoid this line right here. As long as we can avoid this line, you will not get caught in the bubble. So one method that people usually do is warp to something else first, like a planet. So let's just say there happened to be a planet right there. So instead of you warping to the gate first, you would warp to the planet, and then from the planet you can warp straight to the Stargate. And as you can see, there is no bubble at the line of sight for this Stargate. So when you actually travel from here, you'll safely land on the Stargate, avoiding that bubble. Now, there are a few risks. You have to make sure that you do warp to a planet that's close to this Stargate, because that's the best way to avoid the bubble. Now, say if there was another planet, and it was actually the one right here, this may not necessarily work, because it's actually still in line with the bubble, as you can see in this case. So you will actually get caught in the bubble. When you try to warp to the Stargate, you're going to get caught in the bubble. So you need to make sure that the planet that you warp to is far away, and it's going to be in a different line of sight compared to this Stargate. Now, another thing you may need to keep in mind is sometimes people put bubbles in 2 places. So they can put one here and one here, and you can get caught from there to there also. Now, this is quite rare. It does happen if there's a lot of reds in the system. If there's usually 5, it depends. One guy could set it up, but you're much safer going from a planet to here rather than warping from Stargate to here. Now, to check if there's multiple bubbles set up at a Stargate, you can use your scanner, and I recommend that you always keep your scanner handy and open it up. If you don't know how to use a scanner, there's another tutorial which I can show you on how to do that. But yes, so when you do a scan, see how many bubbles are actually set up. If there's only one bubble set up, then you know that you're safe to warp to the Stargate. You may also want to scan for heavy interdictors and interdictors of any kind, which they may put up a bubble right on the gate. But other than that, this is the safest way to travel. Now there's even a more safer way. This is probably the safest way, which especially if you're going to travel from time to time in the same route, and that is to actually have a bookmark. Now, if you have already made a bookmark beforehand, that's like about 200k away from the gate in a random direction, not in line with the other Stargate, just in any random direction. All you need to do is just warp to the bookmark first, like this, and you can actually see then what's on the gate, like how many reds are actually on the gate, or if there are bubbles and stuff like that. And from there, you can warp safely to the Stargate. This is the most recommended way. In fact, with this, you're pretty much 90% to 100% chance of success that you're not gonna get caught in this bubble. So I always recommend that if you're gonna travel from systems to systems, and especially if they're common ones, then set bookmarks on both sides so you can always go in and out of the system without any problems. And that is a quick tutorial on how to avoid bubbles. I hope you didn't fall asleep, and I'll be making more tutorials on safer flight in 0.0. Thanks for watching.